The Synod of Bishops on the Family, which gathered Catholic bishops from around the world to discuss issues related to the family, has just concluded. Here are 5 important things that the Synod accomplished. The Synod of Bishops in its current form was created by Pope Paul VI in 1965. Since then, however, some Synod meetings have seemed rather scripted. By their own admission, some bishops refrain from saying anything that might contradict the status quo or possibly offend the Pope. But at the beginning of this 2-year process, Pope Francis encouraged all participants to speak freely. "Let no one say, 'This cannot be said,'" Pope Francis declared, and he got what he wanted. Conversation was open, lively, and sometimes contentious. And that's all to the good. We shouldn't be afraid of discussion or even debate. The Holy Spirit thrives on openness. As a result of this openness, something wonderful happened. The Synod of Bishops finally assumed its proper place in the post-Vatican II Church. Pope Francis helped to move the Church toward Synodality. In that style of governance, the Pope makes the final decisions, but the laity and clergy, under the leadership of the bishops, debate important matters and reach decisions regarding them, in order to help the Pope. That's a big step forward. It reminds us that the Church is not only a teaching church, but in the words of Pope Francis, a listening church. A synodal church, he said, is a listening church. The Synod did not change church doctrine, but it fostered open discussions on many topics regarding families around the world. Much attention in the West centered on 2 issues. First, the reception of communion by divorced and remarried Catholics, and second, the pastoral care of LGBT Catholics. On the first issue, the Synod didn't change doctrine, but it highlighted the use of the internal forum, a traditional practice that involves understanding church teaching, meeting with a priest, praying over an issue, and consulting your conscience before you make a decision. Again, not a change in teaching, but an encouragement of a possible avenue for reconciliation and a gesture of welcome to divorced and remarried Catholics. On LGBT issues, again, the Synod changed no doctrine, but it reminded Catholics of the need to respect the human dignity of LGBT people and also to have special care for families with LGBT members. That may not sound like a lot, but it challenges Catholics in countries where respect and care for LGBT people are not common. 2 words in the Synod's final document appeared several times: discernment and accompaniment. Discernment, from the Jesuit lexicon, is the practice of making decisions in a prayerful way, which takes into consideration not only the Gospels and church teaching, but also the way that God works through all of us, individually. We reflect on what insights and impulses may be coming from God and which may not be. In discernment, we use both our heads and our hearts. The Synod reminded us of the need for discernment, especially when it comes to complex matters regarding family life. It also reminded us that we needed to accompany people, not simply to repeat church teaching to them or to scold them, but to get to know them, to be with them, to listen to them, to accompany them. The Synod participants spoke frequently. They spoke to one another. They spoke at the daily press briefings. They even tweeted and blogged about their experiences. But there was someone else who spoke frequently, Pope Francis. In his poignant closing talk, for example, he reminded the bishops never to close themselves off from anyone, and that those who truly follow church teaching are not those focused on the letter of the law, but its spirit. The Church's first duty is not to hand down condemnations, he said, but to proclaim God's mercy. People, he said, matter more than ideas. He's warning us against legalism, just like Jesus did. But the Pope will have another chance to talk to the Church about the family, because the Synod asked the Pope to write his own document about what the Synod discussed. At some point then, we'll see what the Pope has to say. He may simply sum up what the Synod says, or maybe go farther. Who knows? Only the Holy Spirit. So keep praying.